Why does the divine masculine run from the very woman his soul has been praying for? This is one of the most painful questions the divine feminine faces on the twin flame journey. You may feel his connection deeply, sense that your energy touches something sacred within him, and know that what exists between you is not ordinary. Yet, when the bond becomes too real, too intense, and too revealing, he pulls away. He is not simply running from you. He is running from the truth your presence awakens inside him. You are the woman who sees beyond his mask, the woman who feels like home, and the woman who reflects the parts of himself he is not ready to face. In today's video, we will explore why this happens, especially during powerful energetic shifts, retrogrades, and new moon portals, when emotions rise, misunderstandings surface, and the soul begins reviewing what the ego has tried to avoid. This is not just a story about love, silence, or separation. It is a story about destiny, healing, identity, purpose, and spiritual evolution. So stay with me until the end, because by the time this video is over, you may no longer see his distance as rejection. You may finally understand the deeper reason his soul is drawn to you, while his human self still feels afraid to come closer. Number 1. The retrograde reset and the new moon recalibration. When Mercury retrograde begins to approach, the energy around us often becomes strange, sensitive, and unpredictable. Misunderstandings rise more easily. Conversations that once felt simple may suddenly become confusing. Messages may be delayed, technology may glitch, plans may change without warning, and emotions that were hidden beneath the surface may begin to stir. For many people, this can feel frustrating or chaotic, but for twin flames, these disruptions are never random. They serve a deeper spiritual purpose. They interrupt the old rhythm so the soul can finally be heard. Retrogrades are often misunderstood because they do not always feel comfortable, but spiritually, they are auspicious. They slow the outer world long enough for the inner world to speak. They pull hidden thoughts out of silence. They bring unresolved emotions into conscious awareness. They reveal what has been buried beneath routine, fear, distraction, pride, or avoidance. During a retrograde, the universe does not punish you. It pauses you. It asks you to look again, feel again, listen again, and understand what your soul has been trying to show you all along. Jupiter retrograde brings a deep soul-level review. It asks both the divine feminine and the divine masculine to look beyond the surface of the journey and ask, what is really happening here? It is not only about whether communication returns, whether someone reaches out, or whether a reunion seems close. Jupiter retrograde asks both twins to recognize the spiritual expansion taking place beneath the uncertainty. Even when the human mind feels confused, even when the path looks unclear, the soul may still be growing, stretching, and preparing for a greater level of truth. Saturn retrograde brings a different kind of medicine. Saturn brings accountability, truth, discipline, integrity, and spiritual maturity. It presses on every place where avoidance still lives. It touches the wounds connected to sacrifice, fear, delay, emotional dependency, and old karmic patterns. For the divine feminine, this becomes a powerful opportunity to break the cycles of overgiving, waiting, chasing, explaining, proving, and abandoning herself in the name of love. Saturn asks her to stand in her own authority and realize that sacred love should never require self-betrayal. Neptune retrograde strips away illusion, fantasy, projection, and emotional fog. It removes the veil from what the heart wanted to believe and reveals what the soul is actually ready to know. For the divine feminine, this can bring sobriety, clarity, and grounded awareness. She begins to see the connection with less fear and less fantasy. She no longer needs to romanticize pain, excuse inconsistency, or confuse longing with alignment. For the divine masculine, however, Neptune retrograde can feel deeply exposing. The illusions that once protected him begin to fall away. The stories he told himself no longer feel convincing. The distractions no longer numb him in the same way. The emotional truth he avoided begins to rise. Then the new moon enters as a sacred reset. This is not just a gentle lunar beginning or a simple emotional refresh. This new moon carries the energy of karmic recalibration. It resets identity, purpose, emotional truth, and spiritual posture. It dissolves attachment fields that kept the twins bound to fear. It breaks mental loops that kept repeating the same pain. It softens the nervous system, clears emotional residue, and strengthens the inner fire of both twins. It is as though the soul is being called back into alignment after a long period of energetic compression. For the divine feminine, this reset may feel like her body is finally learning how to breathe again. Her nervous system begins to calm. She reacts less. She waits less. She stops taking instructions from longing, anxiety, or old emotional triggers. Instead of being pulled into every silence, every energetic shift, or every memory of the divine masculine, she begins to return to herself. She becomes more grounded, more clear, more centered, and less affected by the patterns that once controlled her emotional world. This is not because she loves less. It is because she is finally loving herself more honestly. Number 2, the hidden prayer of the divine masculine. Before the divine masculine ever meets the divine feminine, he carries a longing deep inside him, a longing he almost never speaks out loud. He may not tell his friends. He may not explain it to his family. In many cases, he does not even admit it to himself. Yet beneath his daily responsibilities, beneath the image he shows the world, beneath his work, habits, distractions, and silent endurance, there is a quiet ache living in his chest. It is not just a desire to be loved. It is not only a wish for romance, attention, attraction, or companionship. It is something much deeper, something his soul has been carrying long before his mind could give it a name. This longing can feel like a pressure in the heart, a heaviness he cannot fully explain, a subtle sadness that appears even when his life looks normal from the outside. He may have a routine, responsibilities, goals, friendships, and even relationships, yet still feel that something essential is missing. He may smile, work hard, stay busy, and act as if everything is fine, but somewhere within him there is a quiet fatigue, a hidden emptiness, a sense that he has not yet found the place where his spirit can finally rest. This is the hidden prayer of the divine masculine. It is not always a prayer spoken with words. It is not always conscious. Sometimes it rises from the deepest part of his soul as a silent request to the universe. Before he understands what he is asking for, his soul is already calling. He is asking for a woman who can see him clearly, not just the version of him he presents to the world, but the truth beneath his armor. He is asking for someone who can understand him without endless explanations, someone who can feel the pain he hides behind silence, strength, humor, distance, or control. He is asking for a woman who can awaken the part of him he buried long ago, the part that still believes in love, softness, purpose, and spiritual truth. Deep down, he is praying for a love he has never fully experienced. He is calling in a woman who feels like home, a woman whose energy does not simply attract him but recognizes him. He wants someone who can touch the places in him that life has hardened. He wants someone who can inspire him to become the man he was always meant to be, not by forcing him, not by controlling him, but by reflecting back the highest truth of his soul. He wants this. He feels this. He calls this in through his longing, through his loneliness, through his secret hope. And then, when the time is right, the divine feminine appears. And when she appears, something ancient awakens inside him. She does not arrive as a random person. She arrives at the exact frequency his soul has been praying for. Her presence matches a blueprint within him. Her words touch places no one else has reached. Her eyes may feel strangely familiar. Her energy may feel both comforting and overwhelming. She may speak in a way that bypasses his defenses and reaches directly into his heart. Before his logical mind can understand what is happening, his soul already knows her. His spirit recognizes her as the answer to a prayer he barely knew he was sending. But this is where the panic begins. Most divine masculines have never been taught how to receive love in its purest form. They may have known affection that came with conditions. They may have experienced relationships where love had to be earned through performance, success, emotional restraint, or constant giving. They may have been praised only when they were strong, accepted only when they were useful, or wanted only when they behaved in a certain way. Some have known attention that appeared and disappeared depending on what they provided. Others have learned to hide their sensitivity, their fear, their tenderness, or their wounds in order to be accepted. So when the divine feminine enters his life with a completely different frequency, his system does not know how to respond. She brings emotional safety where he expected judgment. She brings truth where he expected games. She brings intuitive connection where he expected confusion. She brings spiritual recognition where he expected surface-level attraction. She offers presence instead of performance, stability instead of control, acceptance instead of criticism, and love that feels deeper than anything he has known before. And because this love is so unfamiliar, it can shock him. The divine masculine may pull away, not because the divine feminine has done something wrong, not because she is too much, not because he does not feel the connection, not because he does not want her. In truth, the intensity of what he feels may be exactly what frightens him. Her love reaches the parts of him that he has spent years protecting. Her presence reveals the places where he has settled for less, where he has accepted emotional distance, where he has mistaken survival for peace. She does not simply make him feel loved, she makes him feel seen. And being seen at that level can feel terrifying when a man has built his entire identity around hiding. This is the deeper truth. When the divine feminine arrives, she becomes the living answer to the divine masculine's hidden prayer. But the moment he realizes that this love may be real, everything inside him begins to tremble. Because if this connection is real, if this recognition is real, if this woman truly sees his soul, then he can no longer remain the same. His beliefs about love must change. His beliefs about himself must change. His old patterns must be questioned. His emotional walls must be examined. The life he thought he understood suddenly begins to feel too small for the soul that is awakening within him. That is why the divine masculine often runs from the woman he prayed for. Not because she is wrong for him, but because she is the proof that his soul was right all along. Number 3. The fear of being seen. Every divine masculine carries one core fear, and it is not simply the fear of love, it is the fear of being truly seen. Not seen only on the surface, not admired for his appearance, his strength, his success, or the image he shows the world, but seen emotionally, spiritually, energetically, and honestly. This kind of seeing reaches beyond the mask. It touches the places he has hidden, protected, denied, and avoided for years. When the divine masculine looks into the eyes of the divine feminine, he realizes he cannot fully hide from her. Her intuition reads what he does not say. Her energy touches what he tries to suppress. Her presence exposes what he has buried beneath silence, pride, distraction, and control. Her love reflects not only his light, but also the wounds he has not yet healed. She sees his potential, she sees his strength, she sees his softness. She sees his unspoken desires, his pain, his brokenness, his tenderness, and the deeper truth of his soul. And this terrifies him, because being seen means he must stop lying to himself. He must stop pretending he is fine when he is not. He must stop using work, hobbies, shallow friendships, temporary pleasures, or constant busyness to avoid his inner world. He must stop running from his pain, hiding behind ego, and living below the potential his soul knows he came here to embody. The divine feminine becomes the mirror he cannot escape. She becomes the truth he cannot filter. She becomes the living reminder of everything his soul wants, but his ego fears. Her presence does not simply offer love. It calls him into transformation. It shows him the man he could become, and that is why he runs. He is not truly running from her. He is running from the version of himself he is not yet ready to become. This fear is often rooted in childhood wounds. When the divine masculine meets the divine feminine, old emotional patterns can rise to the surface all at once. The connection does not create these wounds, but it activates them, because her energy reaches the deepest layers of his heart. The first wound is the fear of abandonment. Somewhere inside him, he may believe that if he allows himself to love deeply, he will eventually lose her. So instead of surrendering to the connection, he runs first. He leaves emotionally before he can be left. He creates distance before the bond can become too vulnerable. In his mind, running feels like protection, even though it only creates more pain. The second wound is the fear of inadequacy. He may feel that she is too good for him, too intuitive, too emotionally mature, too spiritually aware, too strong in her purpose, or too deeply connected to truth. Instead of rising to meet her, he may retreat because he believes he cannot become the man she deserves. Her light does not reject him, but it reveals the places where he still doubts himself. The third wound is the fear of losing control. The divine feminine awakens emotions he cannot easily regulate, longing he cannot explain, desire he cannot manage, and vulnerability he cannot suppress. For a man who has survived by controlling his feelings, this kind of connection can feel overwhelming. He may feel pulled toward her and terrified at the same time. The fourth wound is the fear of intimacy. True intimacy is not merely closeness, it is honesty. It is allowing another soul to witness your fear, your weakness, your need, your love, and your truth. And honesty is often the very thing the divine masculine has avoided for most of his life. When all of these wounds activate at once, his trauma body reacts through fight, flight, or freeze. And many divine masculines choose flight, because running is the only way they know how to protect themselves from emotional intensity. But beneath the running, there is not indifference, there is fear, there is overwhelm. There is a soul that recognizes the divine feminine, while the wound itself does not yet know how to stand in front of her without hiding. For example, imagine a divine masculine who has spent most of his life being praised only when he is strong, productive, successful, and emotionally controlled. Since childhood, he learned that his pain made people uncomfortable, so he became the dependable one, the quiet one, the man who always handled everything alone. Then the divine feminine enters his life, and for the first time, someone does not ask him to perform. She notices the sadness behind his smile, the exhaustion behind his ambition, and the softness hidden beneath his guarded words. She does not chase his mask. She speaks to his soul. At first, this feels healing, almost like relief, because a part of him has been waiting his whole life to be understood this deeply. But soon, that same understanding begins to terrify him. He realizes that if he stays close to her, he will have to admit how tired he is. He will have to face the childhood wound that taught him love must be earned. He will have to stop pretending he needs no one. So instead of saying, "You see me, and that scares me," he becomes distant, distracted, or cold. He convinces himself he needs space, when in truth, he is overwhelmed by the fact that her love has reached a place inside him he has never allowed anyone to touch. This is how the fear of being seen works. It does not always appear as rejection. Sometimes it appears as silence, avoidance, confusion, or running from the very person who finally saw the truth of his heart. Number 4. The ego collapse and the nervous system overload. When the divine masculine meets the divine feminine, the connection is spiritually breathtaking, but on a human level, it can feel completely overwhelming. It is not the kind of connection he can place neatly inside the mind and explain away as attraction, chemistry, or coincidence. Her presence enters him much deeper than that. It reaches the places he has hidden, the emotions he has buried, the truth he has avoided, and the version of himself he has not yet had the courage to become. This is why, when he first encounters her energy, he may not feel only peace. He may feel pressure in his chest, emotional confusion, sudden restlessness, and a strange hyper-awareness of her presence. He may find himself thinking about her at unexpected moments, unable to focus the way he used to, unable to sleep the way he used to, unable to return to the emotional numbness that once protected him. His longing for her may rise at the same time as his fear. His desire to move closer may appear at the same time as panic. One part of him feels drawn toward her, while another part feels as if the entire structure of his life is beginning to collapse. To the divine feminine, this can look deeply confusing. She may feel the soul recognition, the tenderness, the intensity, and the undeniable pull between them, and then suddenly watch him shut down, become distant, act cold, or retreat into silence. From the outside, it may feel like rejection. It may feel as though he does not care, as though he is choosing fear over love, or as though he never felt the connection in the same way. But beneath the surface, something very different is happening. His nervous system is trying to protect him from an intensity it does not yet know how to hold. He is not running because the love is meaningless. He is running because the love is too meaningful. He is not running from the divine feminine herself. He is running from the ego death that her presence awakens within him. Her energy does not simply invite him into romance, it invites him into transformation. It asks him to become honest. It asks him to feel. It asks him to stop hiding behind the identity he created in order to survive. For years, the divine masculine may have built himself around childhood conditioning, parental expectations, social pressure, masculine programming, internalized shame, fear of vulnerability, emotional suppression, and survival patterns. He may have learned that being strong meant being silent, that needing love was weakness, that opening his heart was dangerous, and that control was the only way to stay safe. This identity helped him move through life. It helped him function. It helped him protect himself. But it also kept him guarded, disconnected, and afraid of being truly seen. Then the divine feminine arrives, and suddenly the identity he spent years building begins to crack. Not because she is trying to destroy him, but because truth naturally dissolves illusion. Her presence exposes the parts of him that are no longer aligned with his soul. She mirrors the tenderness behind his armor, the longing beneath his detachment, the fear behind his control, and the love behind his silence. But to a man who has lived through protection, those cracks can feel terrifying. They can feel like danger. They can feel like instability. They can feel like losing control. They can even feel like losing himself. This is the deeper reason he withdraws. She is not the problem. The collapse is the problem. Her presence accelerates his evolution, but his ego does not understand evolution as expansion at first. His ego interprets it as threat. It says, "You are losing control. You are becoming too vulnerable. You are feeling too much. You are being changed." And because the ego is designed to protect the old self, it fights against the very love that his soul has been praying for. At the spiritual layer, however, he recognizes her. His soul knows her through soul memory, energetic coding, higher self-awareness, karmic lineage, past life resonance, and the sacred blueprint of destiny. Something inside him understands that she is not a random person. She feels familiar in a way he cannot explain, ancient in a way he cannot deny, inevitable in a way he cannot escape, permanent in a way that frightens the part of him still attached to temporary things. This is not ordinary romance. This is cosmic love. And cosmic love does not always feel comfortable when it first enters the human body. It can feel too large, too destined, too irreversible, too powerful for the personality to manage. His soul may recognize her immediately, but his ego cannot integrate that recognition immediately. His higher self may know that she is part of his awakening, but his wounded self may still be afraid of what that awakening will require. So he runs. He creates distance. He overthinks. He retreats into silence. He tries to return to the old identity, the old patterns, the old emotional safety. But once the divine feminine has awakened the truth within him, he can never fully forget it. The voice of his fear may be loud for a while, but the voice of his soul does not disappear. It continues to speak beneath the noise. It continues to call him back to the truth. And eventually, when his soul becomes louder than his fear, he begins to understand that he was never running from her. He was running from the version of himself that her love was asking him to become. Number 5. What happens during separation? Separation is not punishment, and it is not true rejection. It is activation. It is the sacred training ground where the divine masculine is forced to learn how to hold the frequency of the divine feminine without collapsing under its intensity. When he runs, he believes he is escaping. He tells himself, distance will calm the feelings, silence will weaken the connection, and time will help him forget. But in reality, the opposite begins to happen. He starts thinking about her constantly. He replays conversations in his mind. He rereads old messages. He checks her social media. He imagines what life could have been like if he had stayed, if he had been braver, if he had chosen truth instead of fear. And with those thoughts come emotions he cannot easily control: guilt, shame, confusion, unworthiness, longing, fear, and a stronger pull toward her than before. Running does not disconnect him. It intensifies the bond, because running cannot stop the soul. It can only delay what the soul already knows. At first, the divine masculine may tell himself he is fine. He may convince himself that he made the right choice. He may say he needs space, needs work, needs stability, needs freedom, needs time, or needs to move on. He may try to appear calm, detached, and unaffected. But what he creates is numbness, not peace. And numbness never lasts forever. Once the numbness begins to fade, he notices that something is missing. He feels restless without understanding why. He cannot focus the way he used to. His outer life may continue, but his inner world feels unsettled. He thinks of her more, not less. He feels her energy more strongly, not more weakly. Slowly, he begins to realize that the connection did not disappear in separation. It became louder. Distance strips him. Silence corners him. Solitude purifies him. Without her physical presence, he can no longer use her energy as a distraction. He can no longer blame the intensity on her. He can no longer project his wounds onto her, accuse the connection of being too much, or pretend that everything he felt was created only because she was near. In her absence, he is left alone with himself, and that is where real awakening begins. He begins to see the pain he caused. He begins to recognize the fear he ran from. He begins to face the truth he avoided. He starts to understand that the woman he prayed for is standing in her power, while he has been standing in avoidance. And this realization begins to break something open inside him. His ego starts to weaken, because the identity he built from survival can no longer carry him forward. The version of him that pretended not to care, the version that hid behind silence, the version that chose control over vulnerability, begins to lose its strength. Her presence cracked the ego, but her absence shatters it. Then the inner conflict begins. His ego tells him not to return. It tells him not to risk pain, not to expose himself, not to admit what he feels, not to open a door he may not be able to control. But his soul tells him something different. His soul tells him that she is his woman, his destiny, his heart, his home, and the one he called in long before he understood what that prayer would require of him. At the same time, his nervous system may still feel overwhelmed by the intensity of the connection. Even when his heart wants to move toward her, his body may still feel afraid. Even when his soul recognizes her, his old survival patterns may pull him back into shutdown, so he is pulled in three directions. The ego pulls him toward fear, the soul pulls him toward her, and the nervous system pulls him toward silence, withdrawal, and emotional protection. This is why his behavior can appear irrational, cold, confusing, silent, or contradictory. One moment, he may seem connected. The next, he may disappear. One part of him wants to return. Another part fears what returning will require. And another part does not yet know how to hold the depth of what he feels. But this is not about the divine feminine's worth. It is not proof that she was not enough. It is not a sign that the connection was false. It is the war inside him becoming visible through his behavior. Separation reveals what love has activated. It brings his fear, ego, longing, wounds, and soul truth to the surface. And although it may feel painful, confusing, and unfair, separation is often the very space where the divine masculine begins to understand that he was never running from the divine feminine. He was running from the part of himself that only her love could awaken. If you have made it this far, take a quiet breath and ask yourself, have you ever felt this kind of separation, where the silence looked like rejection on the surface, but deep inside, you could feel that something was still moving, awakening, and transforming beneath it? Maybe you were the one standing in your power, while someone you loved was still standing in fear. Maybe you watched them pull away, not because the bond was weak, but because the truth was too strong for them to hold at that moment. Share your story in the comments, because your experience may become the confirmation someone else has been praying for today. And if this message speaks to your soul, simply type, "Separation is not the end, it is the awakening." Let that be your affirmation, your reminder, and your declaration that what is meant for the soul cannot be destroyed by distance, silence, or fear. Number 6. The breaking point, when running no longer works. There comes a stage in the twin flame journey when running simply stops working. The divine masculine may still try to distract himself, stay busy, laugh with friends, bury himself in work, or pretend that life is normal, but something inside him no longer responds to those old escapes. The breaking point is often not dramatic. It does not always come through a crisis, an argument, or a visible collapse. Many times, it arrives in silence, on an ordinary day, when he suddenly realizes he no longer feels like himself. Work does not numb him the way it used to. Friends cannot fill the emptiness. Partying feels hollow. Distractions feel useless. Conversations feel shallow. The coping mechanisms that once gave him temporary relief no longer comfort him. A hollow space opens inside him, and no matter what he does, it refuses to close. This emptiness is not punishment. It is the soul preparing to rise. During this stage, everything connected to the divine feminine becomes stronger. His dreams may intensify. Synchronicities may appear faster. Memories of her may surface without reason. Past conversations may replay in his mind again and again. He may feel her energy in his body, hear her name randomly, or sense her presence in ordinary moments. Even when he tries to push her away mentally, his soul keeps pulling her back into his awareness. Then the inner whisper begins. You are not where you are meant to be. You are not living the life your heart truly wants. You are not aligned with truth. You are not choosing love. You are not choosing yourself. At first, he may ignore these whispers, but they grow louder until the comfort he built around avoidance begins to crumble. Before he can move toward the divine feminine with honesty, something within him must dissolve. The false masculine identity must fall away. The arrogance, the emotional suppression, the avoidance, the ego-based control, the fear of vulnerability, the attachment to the familiar, and the need to appear strong while quietly falling apart inside. The false masculine was the version of him that ran. It was the version that said, "I am fine." It was the part of him that believed he did not need help, did not need love, and could handle everything alone. It was the part that thought he could outrun the connection. But the breaking point destroys this illusion. He begins to realize that running never protected him. It exhausted him, isolated him, drained him, and made the connection even stronger. Then the inner child rises to the surface, and this becomes one of the most painful phases for the divine masculine. He begins to feel abandonment he never admitted, loneliness he never processed, inadequacy he never healed, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being unlovable, the fear of disappointing others, the fear of being truly seen, the terror of losing her, the regret for hurting her, and the shame for running. These emotions may overwhelm him because he may not know how to express them, soothe them, or hold them. But beneath the pain, something sacred is happening. The old armor is dissolving. The soul is becoming louder than the ego. This is the emotional ending of the running phase. Number 7. The return through stillness and alignment. The return of the divine masculine begins long before he sends a message, makes a phone call, offers an apology, or appears again in the physical world. His return begins quietly, in the unseen spaces of his heart, when he finally realizes that the divine feminine may no longer be waiting the way she once did. She may no longer be chasing, collapsing, overthinking, or organizing her entire life around his absence. Something in her energy has changed, and his soul can feel it. He begins to see that she has found her center. She has built stability with or without him. She has returned to her mission, faced her wounds, healed the parts of herself that once begged for love, and become the woman she was always meant to become. This realization breaks him open, because the divine masculine may fear many things in the outside world, but nothing awakens him like the possibility of losing the one person who truly saw him. The divine feminine saw beyond his mask. She saw the man beneath the armor, the softness beneath the ego, the pain beneath the silence, and the greatness he had not yet learned how to embody. When he realizes that she may truly move forward without him, something ancient awakens inside his masculine energy. A hidden devotion begins to rise. A desire to show up correctly begins to form. His protective instinct returns. His drive to become better grows stronger, and somewhere deep within him, He understands that if he does not become ready now, he may lose her forever. This is when he enters search mode. He may quietly check her social media, reread old messages, look at old photos, ask mutual connections about her, or watch from a distance without revealing himself. He may try to sense her emotional state, wonder if she has moved on, wonder if someone else has entered her life, decode her posts, and search for any sign that she still cares. But he does this silently because he is not yet ready to reach out. His heart may be opening, but his fear is still present. He may be afraid she will reject him, afraid he damaged the connection permanently, afraid he waited too long, afraid that the love he once ran from may no longer be waiting for him. Yet during this phase, his love deepens, and slowly, his fear begins to dissolve. Eventually, something opens in his heart. It may feel like pressure, sadness, longing, or fear transforming into love. But beneath all of it, the breakthrough feels like clarity, surrender, truth, softness, remembrance, and destiny. He realizes he cannot run anymore. The connection is too real. Her absence is too painful. Her presence is too necessary. The love is too strong. The soul is too loud. And the ego has finally lost its power. Before he reaches out, he makes a silent decision. He wants to show up properly. He wants to rebuild trust, face his fear, drop his ego, and rise into the man he has always felt he could become. He wants to choose love, choose truth, choose destiny, and choose the divine feminine from a place of maturity, not confusion. This is not a light romantic decision. It is a soul-based decision. The man who returns is not the same man who left. He is more conscious, more grounded, more vulnerable, more emotionally open, more spiritually awake, more stable, more aligned, and more ready. And the divine feminine must understand this. She does not bring him back by chasing, convincing, begging, or fixing him. She brings him back through alignment. Her power is not in pursuit, but in presence. Not in pressure, but in stillness. Not in fixing the divine masculine, but in healing herself. Not in convincing him of her worth, but in becoming the version of herself his soul recognizes instantly. Her evolution guides his evolution. Her alignment guides his awakening, and her inner peace becomes the quiet path that leads his soul back home. The divine masculine did not run because the divine feminine was wrong for him. He ran because, on a soul level, she was too real to ignore. He ran because he had prayed for her long before he believed he was worthy of receiving her. He ran because something inside him recognized her essence before he was ready to recognize his own. Her presence awakened a truth he could not control, a love he could not explain, and a destiny he could not hide from. And this is why the running phase is so painful. It is not always the absence of love. Sometimes, it is the presence of a love so powerful that it exposes every place where the divine masculine still feels unprepared. He may run from the connection, but deeper than that, he is running from his own wounds, his own fear, his own shame, his own vulnerability, and the version of himself he knows he must become in order to stand beside the divine feminine with honesty and strength. But running only delays what the soul already knows. It cannot erase the bond. It cannot silence destiny. It cannot remove the energetic imprint of the woman who touched something ancient within him. He may distract himself, deny his feelings, choose comfort over truth, or hide behind ego for a season, but the soul remembers what the mind tries to forget. And when the divine masculine finally reaches the point where running no longer brings peace, his awakening begins in a deeper way. There comes a sacred moment when his soul becomes louder than his fear. He may not be perfect, he may not have every wound healed, he may not know every answer, but something within him shifts. The man who once avoided the truth begins to crave it. The man who once feared being seen begins to understand that being seen by the divine feminine was never meant to destroy him. It was meant to call him home to himself. When his soul takes over, he no longer returns as the same man who ran. He returns with humility, because he understands what his absence created. He returns with clarity, because he can finally see what the connection truly means. He returns with devotion, because he knows this love is not a temporary emotion, a passing desire, or a fantasy of the heart. It is a spiritual assignment, It is a soul recognition. It is the mirror of everything he was born to become. And when he is truly ready, nothing outside of him can stop him. Not fear, not pride, not old patterns, not outside opinions, not the comfort zone that once kept him small. He does not return simply because he misses her. He returns because his soul can no longer live out of alignment with the truth. He returns because the woman he prayed for is not an illusion. She is real. She is here. She is home. And now he finally understands that choosing her also means choosing the highest version of himself. But Divine Feminine, your sacred role is not to collapse while he is learning. It is not to chase, beg, convince, overgive, or prove your worth. Your role is to become still, not cold, not bitter, not angry, not closed, still in your power, still in your peace, still in your self-respect, still in your knowing. Stillness is not punishment. Stillness is alignment. It is the quiet frequency that says, I no longer abandon myself to be chosen by someone else. When you rise into that stillness, you send a signal through the spiritual field. You tell the universe, your soul, and the divine masculine that you are no longer standing in fear. You are standing in truth. You are not waiting from emptiness. You are becoming from wholeness. You are not trying to force destiny. You are allowing destiny to meet you at the level of your own divine alignment. And when the divine masculine feels that signal, something ancient within him remembers. He remembers the prayer. He remembers the connection. He remembers the woman whose energy never truly left him. He remembers that love was not sent to weaken him, but to awaken him. And when his soul is finally strong enough, brave enough, and honest enough, he will stop running from the woman he prayed for and begin walking toward her with truth. So if this message touched your heart, leave this exact sentence in the comments. I choose stillness, alignment, and divine truth. Let this be your affirmation to the universe that you are no longer chasing what is meant for you. You are becoming the version of yourself that can receive it in peace. And if this video spoke to your journey, please like this video, share it with someone who needs this reminder, and subscribe to Spiritual Universe for more soul-deep messages on the twin flame path. Your journey is not random. Your love is not meaningless. Your stillness is not empty. It is the sacred space where destiny learns how to find you. And before you go, watch the video below, because it may reveal the next message your soul has been waiting to hear.